You know, some cars become legends for their speed or their style. But what about a car that becomes a legend for one of the most chilling corporate decisions ever made? A car whose name isn't just about getting from A to B, but about a company that actually put a price on human life. Today, we're talking about the Ford Pinto.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It sounds like a line from a movie, right? But it's not. This is the absolute core of a true story. And we're going to break down exactly how and why a massive American company made a choice that would, well, haunt them forever.
So to really get the Pinto story, we have to jump back in time to the early 1970s. The American auto industry was, frankly, in a total panic. They were facing this new kind of threat, one that was small, cheap, and people were absolutely loving it.
So on one side of this car war, you had the imports. Think the VW Beetle, the Toyota Corolla. They were sipping gas, they were reliable, and they were affordable. The American public was buying them up like crazy. And on the other side, you had the American giants like Ford just scrambling to come up with an answer. Ford's answer was the Pinto.
And Ford wasn't just dipping a toe in the water. They were diving in headfirst. The orders from the top, from President Lee Iacocca himself, were ironclad. The Pinto had to weigh under 2,000 pounds, it had to cost under $2,000, and, get this, it had to go from a simple idea to being in showrooms in under 25 months. That was a ridiculously fast timeline, an insane rush to production that, as we'll see, had absolutely devastating consequences.
So in this crazy race to get the Pinto to market, you just know corners were going to be cut. And sure enough, before the very first Pinto was even sold to a customer, their own pre-production tests revealed something absolutely terrifying.
Just think about that. A pretty normal, low-speed fender bender, something that happens every day, could turn this car into a fireball. Their own internal tests showed that at speeds as low as 25 miles an hour, the fuel tank would just completely fail.
So what was the actual problem here? Well, it was all about where they put the fuel tank. It was basically jammed into this tiny little space behind the rear axle. So when the car got hit from behind, the whole axle would get shoved forward, ramming the fuel tank right into a set of sharp bolts. It was like putting a balloon right next to a bed of nails, a totally, fatally dangerous design.
And this is the real heart of the story. The moment of truth. Ford's engineers knew. The executives knew. They were all aware of this deadly flaw. So what did they do? Did they hit the brakes on production? Did they redesign the car?
No. They did something else entirely. They ran the numbers. And what came next was an internal document that would become one of the most infamous, most notorious memos in the entire history of business.
So, the company was standing at crossroads. On one hand, they could solve the problem. Engineers said it would cost about $11 per car to make it safe, or they could just do nothing and instead calculate what it would cost to deal with the inevitable deaths and injuries down the road.
And here it is, the cold, hard math from Ford's memo. Fixing the flaw across all the Pintos would cost them $137 million. But not fixing it? Well, they projected that paying for the fallout for about 180 burn deaths, 180 serious injuries, and a couple thousand burned-out cars would only cost them $49.5 million. The math was as brutal as it was simple. It was cheaper to let people burn.
And to make this horrifying math work, Ford used a number from a government agency that put the value of a single human life at $200,000. A person's entire existence was officially boiled down to a number on a spreadsheet.
This wasn't just some morbid thought experiment in an office. Ford went ahead, they built the car as it was, and it didn't take long for the memo's grim predictions to become a tragic reality on highways all across the country.
The human cost was just catastrophic. We're talking hundreds of people dead or left with horrific burns. The Pinto's public image became these fiery crashes you'd see on the news. This led to huge lawsuits, most famously one called Grimshaw versus Ford. In that case, the jury was so horrified they awarded $125 million in damages, saying Ford acted with malice, with a conscious, deliberate disregard for human life. The fallout from all this was absolutely immense. It wasn't just about one car anymore. It kicked off this massive, nationwide debate about what a corporation's responsibility really is to its customers and to society as a whole.
You can see how fast it all unraveled. The whole story exploded in 1977 when Mother Jones magazine got their hands on that internal memo and published it. The public outrage was immediate and intense. Under all that pressure, Ford finally recalled 1.5 million Pintos in 1978. That same year, the Grimshaw verdict sent shockwaves through the corporate world. And just 2 years later, it was all over. The last Pinto rolled off the assembly line for good.
The damage was done, but the impact is still felt today. Ford's reputation was obviously trashed for years. The government responded by seriously beefing up vehicle safety standards. But maybe the biggest legacy is that the Pinto case is now taught in basically every business ethics class on the planet. It's the ultimate lesson in what happens when a company puts profits over people.
And that really leaves us with one last big question. The Ford Pinto is a story from 50 years ago, yeah? But that central conflict, profit versus people, that's timeless. In our world today, with all its crazy competition and pressure on the bottom line, how do companies weigh those costs? The question hasn't gone away. It's just changed its shape for the 21st century.